Hi everyone, this is Adam Law once again with a new video, and this is the series called Torah with a question mark, or Torah with a question. And this week's Parsha is Parsha's Vayishlach. I have a very exciting idea today. The topic is called, Did Yaakov feel bad for what he did? You see, a lot of people realize that as Jewish people we have a special status in the world. We have a special blessing, a special covenant with God, a special Torah. We've done amazing things in the world. Yet, does this special status, this blessing that we received, cause us to feel arrogant and special and better? Or is it supposed to make us feel humble and humbled by the experience, and to be having self-doubt and whether we really deserve what we got? And hopefully this will bring us to a level of humility. And I want to explore this today through the story of Yaakov found in Parsha's Vayishlach. Now I have a much longer video on Vayishlach, which you can find at the end of this video, or if you look at my channel, Adam Law, you can see it under Parsha's Vayishlach. It's from about 6 years ago. It looked a little different there. But there I explain a lot of the same ideas in more depth. It's quite an interesting video. But today I'm going to explore the subject of, did Yaakov feel bad about what he did? I want to remind you that years of scholarship was put into this video, and lots of hard work to make this video, and I'm trying to put these out every week for you guys, both on this channel and my general interest channel, Wanderings with Adam Law. So please subscribe, like, share, comment, get involved. I love to discuss things with you guys, these ideas, and tell me what you think. So back to the topic of Vayishlach here, and the question of whether Yaakov believed he deserved the blessings or not that he got. Let's just give a quick synopsis of events from up to now and what's going on now in the Parsha to lead us into our question. We know that Yaakov, when he was young, he took the birthright from his brother Esav. Esav was slightly older than Yaakov, and he got this thing called the Behorah, which means he had special privileges. We see later in the Torah that he at least got double a portion of the brother, and also he had a special priestly role, a spiritual role in the family, which the firstborn had. But one of the big lessons we learn throughout Bereshit, throughout Genesis, is that just because someone has a firstborn status or seemingly has a more powerful status in the world, does not mean that they are really the chosen and most important one. This actually is a great idea of theology found throughout Judaism, is that particularly after the destruction of the Second Temple, and the Jews have basically been a downtrodden people for the last 2,000 years, wandering and quite oppressed by the cultures that we were in, the theology developed more and more and more that we see actually comes from these parshas, that just because someone is small and weak of stature does not mean that they are less, does not mean they're not chosen and they're not blessed. As a matter of fact, there could be a certain spirituality about being the underdog. And this is really why Jews have become the people they are, and have actually become quite liberal in their causes that they're a part of, because they're used to being the underdog. They're used to developing a theology which is based on the fact that we have these blessings and promises, this chosen status, but yet in the world, we don't see that. Matter of fact, you constantly hear for Christianity this idea of the victory of Christianity, meaning is the fact that they took over and conquered the world, at least the Western world, is a proof to them, a proof text that they were chosen and the Jewish people were cursed. Whereas we developed a theology of the opposite, that the underdog, the oppressed one, may be the one who's right and is right. Anyway, that's just a topic for another time. So let's get back to our main theme here. Yaakov didn't seem to have much moral qualms from taking the Behor from his brother Esav and the trickery over the soup when Esav was quite exhausted. But then later on, we see something maybe even deeper called the blessing. And there's a blessing that Yitzhak, the father, wants to give. And he wants to give it to Esav, his firstborn son. That was the pattern that's been established of old, as the firstborn son, again, has a special status monetarily, and maybe also spiritually as well. Why Yitzhak wanted to do this, that's a subject for another time. But regardless, we see that Yaakov ends up dressing up like Esav, wearing these goat skins, and going in there and fooling his father, who is blind, who may or may not have known about the ruse, but gets the blessings, and he gets these blessings that Esav was, quote-unquote, supposed to get. And Yaakov, actually, we see there from the beginning, one of the first proofs that we see that he maybe felt a little bad about what was going on about doing this is he was hesitant, he was reticent about doing this. It's the mother who has a woman's intuition, Rebecca, who pushes Yaakov into doing this. She's the one who realizes that Esav is not deserving of the blessing. And it's really supposed to be Yaakov. But Yaakov and Yitzhak really aren't so sure about it. There's this idea that maybe though everyone kind of sees that Esav isn't the level that he should be, that maybe he deserves the extra special blessing. He deserves the trust, the spiritual blessing from Yitzhak, that he can become the person he's going to be. Despite the fact that he hasn't lived up to it, Yitzhak and maybe even Yaakov feel bad and think that maybe Esav could use the bonus. But women oftentimes are more intuitive about what the future will be. And they have a certain bit more gevura of judgment, and they say, no, things have to be this way, but it's just not going to work this way. Instead, it's got to be this way. And Rebecca was right. As we know, in the end, Esav becomes a great villain, and Yaakov becomes a great hero. So Rebecca was right, and Yaakov and Yitzhak were not so right. But in the end, Yaakov did agree and did decide he was going to go along with the ruse. Matter of fact, when you look here in the Torah, in Parshas Toldos, it seems to be that Yaakov's concern was not mainly just moral and ethical. It was more that he was worried. He says, Esav's a hairy man, I'm a smooth-skinned man, maybe my dad's going to find out, and he'll bring a curse upon himself rather than a blessing. So it's not so clear that Yaakov really has a total moral qualm about doing what he's about to do, to take the blessing from his brother. But Yitzhak for sure seems to not want that. But again, that's also not so clear. That's for a different parsha. Anyway, in the end, Yaakov gets both blessings. He gets the blessing of the Tal Shemayim, of spirituality, which he was born to have. And he gets this blessing of Esav as well, the Shmini Haaretz, the fat of the land, i.e. to inherit land, to get physical land. Not just property, but the land. The land of Eretz Yisrael, which was promised to Abraham. And then Yitzhak would belong to Esav. And we'll see how that develops later in our parsha of Vayishlach, how that comes out. Anyhow, we see in Parshas Toldos that Esav is very angry and wants to kill Yaakov, and Yaakov has to run away, and he goes out into exile for decades. And all the blessings and promises were not fulfilled in him. Now Yaakov is about to enter the land. He leaves Lavan, he's got his children, he's got his wives, he's about to go into the land, and he's very, very afraid of what's going to happen with Esav. Despite the fact that we see that God promises Yaakov multiple times that he's going to inherit the land, there's a part of Yaakov which still has doubt. He still has disbelief whether he deserves this blessing or not. And we see that's why he's constantly praying to God and saying, God, please protect me. Please help me. Because despite the blessing and the promise that Yaakov got from God through the auspices of his father Yitzhak, he still had great doubt whether he deserved this. And this is a great moral lesson for us, because we have to ask the question, if we're so special and so chosen, why is Yaakov so humble about his mission? Why does Yaakov doubt himself all the time? It means we should constantly be doubting, because maybe katonti mechochasnim ba'emes, like Yaakov says, maybe I've been reduced by all the good you've given me, God. Maybe I'm not worthy. Maybe I haven't acted up to the blessings that you have bestowed on me. That's the proper attitude towards the blessings. And we see numerous times here that Yaakov has much doubt about whether he did the right thing. At the time of taking the blessing, it looks there like he's unsure, but it might be pragmatic. But for sure here we see many instances of regret that Yaakov took the blessing of Esav. And we're going to mention those instances here. So the reasons why I believe that Yaakov doubted whether he deserved the blessings or not are manifold. One is, again, the obvious fact that he got the blessing and that God continually promised him, but yet he seems to doubt himself. He makes this practical plan about splitting up the camps of his family, about appeasing Esav. If he's so sure that he was supposed to get the blessing, why didn't he just march right into Eretz Yisrael and tell Esav that or fight with him? Okay, maybe you can say he's a practical person, and for sure he was a practical person. But I think there's more to that. If God tells you something, and yet you still have doubt about it, it shows a tremendous amount of humility that Yaakov had for the blessings and his special status. And also that maybe he very much doubted and that he really deserved it. And maybe whether he did the right thing or not. Maybe he believed the blessings he got from God were he forced God's hand, so to speak. God had no choice because he stole the blessing from Esav, from his father Yitzhak. But we see here he's very doubtful. He's constantly praying and making practical plans. But what's more, there's much bigger proofs that he was worried about the blessing. Because we know that Esav ultimately wasn't that hard to defeat. What was really hard to defeat was the angel. Yaakov spends all night wrestling with this angel that comes to him when Yaakov is alone, the night before the meeting of Esav. Yaakov gets injured there, and Yaakov battles with this angel, the spiritual angel of Esav. It could be the Satan or some evil force representing Esav and the dark nature of the world, which also Yaakov has inside of himself, which you can see my other video again in Vayishlach, which I will make the post to at the end of this video. At the end of this tremendous struggle, we see that Yaakov asks the angel for what? He asks the angel for a blessing. Meaning he asks God again for the confirmation of this blessing, that he deserved the blessing, that he didn't do something wrong, that he deserved this. And God gives him the blessing there through the angel of the name Yisrael. And it says he struggles with God. It's a struggle. That even though we may have a spiritual promise and a blessing, we should be struggling with that responsibility. We shouldn't be arrogant about it. We should be like Yaakov, humbled by our experience, humbled by our blessings, humbled by what we do in the world. Not someone who's arrogant who marches through. My biggest proof, though, of course, is we find in the Parsha when Yaakov actually meets the physical person, Esav. We know that he brings many offerings. Yaakov sends these offerings of animals to his brother, and a tribute, which again shows that Yaakov was not only humble, but didn't know whether he really deserved the blessings or not. To me, the main proof of my point that Yaakov had doubt about whether he did the right thing about taking the blessings or not are found at the key point of the encounter when Yaakov and Esav meet. It says, Esav ran towards him, embraced him, fell upon his neck and kissed him, and they wept. He raised his eyes and saw the women and the children, and asked, "Who are these to you?" He answered, Yaakov, "The children whom God has graciously given your servant." All these children and the wives came and bowed down. And Esav asked, "What did you mean by all these things, these gifts that you've given me?" And Yaakov answers, "To gain favor in your eyes." Esav says, "No, it's okay, I have enough, you keep what's yours." And then here comes the key. Chapter 33, verses 10 and 11. Yaakov said, "No, I beg of you, if I have now found favor in your eyes, then accept my mincha from me, the tribute, accept his tribute, inasmuch as I've seen your face, which is like seeing the face of a divine being, and you were appeased by me." And here it is. "Please accept my gift which was brought to you." That's the way the art school translated it. But if you look at the Hebrew, it says, "Kach na es birchasi." Please take my blessing, which I brought to you. Take my blessing. Again, both when he struggles with the angel, he asks for a blessing at the end. And then here, he offers him the mincha, this tribute to all these animals, which was given to Esav to appease him. But then he changes the language from mincha to bracha. Please take this blessing. Why would he change the language? Because the mincha is symbolic of the blessings. It's symbolic of the blessings that Yaakov took from Esav. He says, "I don't want them. I don't need them. I'd rather go on in my life not feeling bad about myself. I'd rather go on feeling good. You take the blessings. I'll take what's reserved for me from God, and you take what belongs to you." And this is a big, big proof. Now it's interesting, if you look at all the commentators, whether it's Rashi and Ramban, almost unequivocally across the board, you will see that they reiterate that mincha is talking about this offering. And so is the blessing, the word bracha. Immediately afterwards, with Rashi and Ramban, the giant commentators, as well as many other sources, say this. But there is another source, which at the time of this video I need to look up. I also found Al-Shalik and also Rabbi Sachs, may his memory be for a blessing, who just passed away 30 days ago, says a similar thing to what I'm saying, that when he offers the blessing back, it's actually the blessing. Yaakov says, "Take the blessing back. It's too much of a burden. Take the blessing. I don't need it. I don't want it. I'm doing fine with what I have. I have everything. I don't need anything." And Esav takes the physical items, but ultimately leaves the land. Once Yaakov had defeated the angel of Esav and got the blessing, Esav just was almost non-existent. It was a very small challenge. And Esav walks away without having to do anything. And he knows there that Yaakov was the humble man, the man who received the blessings humbly. And without having to say anything, Esav turns around and goes back to Seir and leaves the land of Israel. And Yaakov is able to have that. But despite that, at the end of the parsha, even after the whole incident of Shechem, Yaakov gets another blessing from God. And there, Yaakov gets the blessing again. The blessing again that he deserves this. His whole life, he is Yisrael. He's struggling with this role. He's not sure, he's not confident, he's not arrogant about his blessings. He's constantly wondering whether he did the right thing. But in the end, we see that God continually reassures Yaakov that he gets these blessings, even at the end of the parsha. And Esav agrees with that. Another proof is a very, very interesting thing. When Yaakov gives his tribute to his brother, he gives goats before everything else. Yaakov gives 200 she-goats and 20 male goats. And then he gives other offerings as well. Why is goats the first thing mentioned of the offerings? And why is it in these doubles? If you look back at Parshas Toldos, when Rachel is helping Yaakov set the deception, it says there that there were these Gediyei Ha'izim, there were these goats. They brought goats, they turned the meat into meat to give to Yitzhak, but they dressed Yaakov up in these goat skins. And it says goats in the plural. What's the minimum amount of goats to be plural? Obviously 2. The minimum amount of plural is always 2. So there were 2 goats, and that is why we see the doubles as well later on. Yaakov has to resort to this devilish side. We know that the goat is the symbol of the devil. It's also the month of Teves, which is coming up during Hanukkah. And we know that goats are hairy and they're stubborn and they have horns. All images of the devil almost always have horns or have a beard like a billy goat. Yet a goat is a kosher animal. Goat represents din, it represents judgment and stubbornness. And it's in this world, though, because it's kosher, it's allowed, it's in this world. There's a certain attribute. Yaakov dresses up in the world, the physical world, the skins to deceive Yitzhak. The fact that Yaakov, the tzaddik, has to wear this aspect, bring in the side of the world, the physical world. And he has to use these as the method to fool his father. And that taking on the aspect of Esav, that there's 2. That it's not only Yaakov, there's also Esav. There's not only the spiritual world like Yaakov, there's the physical world like Esav. Later on, we see the exact same thing. That when he gives goats to his brother as a mincha, as an offering, he gives them in doubles. He gives 200 female goats and 20 male goats. That we see that there's this double. It's this offering. It's a reminder to Esav about what had happened. It's a making up. It's a guilt offering to Esav. And also to appease that part of the world, that part of the world of Esav, that strict justice part of the world, for Yaakov to show that inside he feels bad about what happened, that he feels guilt. He doesn't feel that he did the right thing. And so it's like an acknowledgement to Esav about what had happened in the past and how Yaakov became sullied with the goat skins, became sullied with the ways of the world. And he's offering that up to Esav, saying, Esav, that belongs to you. This, by the way, is also the secret of the 1 goat to Azazel and the 1 goat to God that we give on Yom Kippur. Also, 2 goats. One is holy, like Yaakov, and one's not holy. That's like Esav, which goes to Azazel. This is alluding to that fact. And before I speak about in my other video, that Yaakov could have become like Esav and Esav could have become like Yaakov. It's not so clear. Just because someone's blessed and has a special status, being born Ish Tam, doesn't mean that the ways of the world won't sully them. And just because a person's born a hairy man, like Esav, doesn't mean that he won't also have a chance to become good, as he could have become good. As the Gemara in Kedushin, page 18, says that he was a Yisrael Numer. He was a rebellious Jew. He could have been a good Jew. So too, when Yaakov is struggling with the angel of Esav, it's very unclear who is defeating who is talking to who. Because Yaakov has a Yetzer Hara. He has a Yetzer Hara inside of himself. Something struggling inside of him. He also calls his brother Esav. Esav's his brother, meaning they're 2 sides of the same coin. Only through defeating and struggling with that angel, with being able to deal with this physical world and bringing it up, and being Makadesh it, does that make Yaakov Yaakov. Esav took this world and brought the spiritual world down with it, whereas Yaakov took the spirituality and brought the physical world up with it. But it didn't have to go that way. And that's why it's so unclear in the struggle about who's talking to who, the angel of Esav or Yaakov. And this moment is the pivotal moment where Yisrael, Yaakov, becomes the person he's going to be. For Yaakov, it's defeating the angel inside of himself to become Yisrael. That even though in this world it looks like Esav and his descendants of Rome and the religion that comes from Rome, look like they got the blessings, that's not the truth. That again, there's no such thing as the victory. Really, it's the underdog, the one who spiritually endures the suffering of this world, like Yaakov did, is the one who's going to get the blessings. And the Midrash says that Yaakov will get them back at the end of time, even though it seems here that Esav takes back this mincha, which I want to say is really the bracha. You'll see that Yaakov will get it back at the end of time. Yaakov offers it back because he feels bad. He's sullied by the way of the world. He wants to be an ish tam. He wants to be the person he was. And Esav takes that bracha. He takes that mincha back. In the end, we see that Yaakov will get it. In the world to come, Yaakov will get it. He'll get everything. He'll get the land. He'll get the redemption. Yet Yaakov is unsure about it. We see so many places in this parsha that he is so unsure whether he deserves this. In the end, he gets it. And God gives it to him multiple times, this blessing. And he's going to be returned all the blessings, even the blessings of this world, and ultimately the redemption, as the Midrash Rabbah says. But yet he has doubt. No matter how great we are, our chosen status, our spiritual status, it needs to lead us to a level of humility, of doubt, of questioning. Have I been reduced? Have I lived up to this blessing? Have I become the person deserving of it? And can I make the world a better place, not just for the Jewish people, but for the whole world? And even the person like Esav, maybe he does deserve his place in the world. Until the time of redemption, when that force will be destroyed, Esav has a place in this world, and he gets the bracha back. Yaakov gives him the blessing back. Chachna es berachasi, and we see here that Esav does take it. Esav does take it. And that's all he wanted. He just wanted to be acknowledged. Just like at the birthright, he says there he was mavazeh, he despised the birthright. So too here. When a kid sees another kid with a toy that he wasn't playing with, he decides himself that he wants and he tries to grab it away from him. But he didn't want the toy so much as he didn't want the other kid to have it. Same thing with the story with Solomon and the two women arguing over the baby. The reason that Solomon knew which woman's baby belonged to was because she cared about the baby. The other woman just didn't want the other woman to have a baby. So too here. Once Esav is appeased, once he's given back the blessing, once he's given the toy, once he's given the goats, he says, I don't need this. And he kisses Yaakov, and he loves him, and he walks away. He says, you can take the toy, you can take Eretz Yisrael. I don't need it, it's not for me. So we see ultimately we will get the blessings back, that we did take them righteously, but we have to realize in this world, we didn't necessarily get the blessings and the promises right now. And we gave them back. We gave them back to the people of the world, the people who took the victory, so to speak, people of Esav. And really, we walk the world with humility and constant doubting like Yaakov does, whether we deserve the blessings and the good things in this world. And we don't have to show them to people. We hide them, just like Yaakov hides Rachel behind Yosef. That we don't have to show everyone what stuff of the world we have. That we don't need to post all our best stuff on Instagram and Facebook and show off with the fanciest cars and houses and vacations. That really we should show humility for the blessings of this world. Because in this world, the blessings really belong to Esav. And that we ourselves, our blessings are reserved for the next world. This is Adam Law with Wanderings with Adam Law. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please subscribe, like, and comment. You can check out my other channel on Meaning and Purpose called Wanderings with Adam Law. My main video, which I taped 6 years ago on Parshas Vayishlach, I will post at the end of this video. I'm also a coach and psychotherapist. I meet privately with clients on Zoom or in person once the crisis is over. And I'm available for appointments. You can contact me through my Facebook page, Wandering with Adam Law, or you can find me at the email, which I will post right here on the screen. And I'm available for consultation. I'm a registered psychotherapist and board-certified chaplain. Thank you so much for this opportunity to learn with you, and may you have a great week and a great Shabbos. Thank you.